it is not a good situation. I think it's just because the market slowed down, right? Like tech valuations have come down. People are scared. People are worried about recessions. So, there's a lot of fear in the market, and that's kind of causing companies to slow down their hiring. Now, that's the macro sense. I think that we focus too much on the macro, though, sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to sit there and read the news and see doom and gloom. On an individual basis, if you're listening to me right now, on an individual basis, forget the macro. If you work through 201 questions, you're going to be leveling up, right? Even if you're going to still have trouble in the job hunt, it's certainly going to be easier putting in that effort, right? Same way, I just told you all about making the recommender system using free data from Macy's.com and making product recommendations. That has nothing to do with the macro environment.
Yeah.
Yet most people listening to this are not going to do that. You know what I mean? So what I mean to say is, even when the macro environment starts getting scary and people are getting their jobs rescinded at a micro level, when you control your own actions, there's absolutely things you can be doing to do fine throughout this. And it's a bigger thing of like, hey, whether the economy was booming or crashing, you chose to watch Netflix instead of make a recommender system. You know what I mean? And no one can fix that but you. So I think I just want to bring that up. Like, if you take care of your own shit and you put in that effort, usually you're going to be okay.
Got it. So, you've been working on your book right now, and is there any other book coming in the upcoming years? I'm not here for spoilers, but just asking.
No, there might be, but I think the few things is I am trying to get a version out for India, and that might be coming in the fall. I think I'm also most excitingly, I'm working on a video course, and we can link it in the description. I already have a free 4-part cold email video course that I'd love to link in the resources below, where I just walk through how do we write cold emails and what are the cold email mistakes, because that was one of the most chapters that most people ask me about. Like, hey, Nick, are you sure this works, or how do we do that? So I made some really fun videos to kind of explain that. And soon, later this month in June, I will be putting out a more comprehensive paid video course that kind of explains and elaborates on a lot of the techniques we covered in the book. So that's what I'm really excited about. And just in general, doing more on video, getting more on YouTube, Instagram, and maybe even TikTok. Who knows? I'm working on my still, so we'll see.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, and one last question which I wanted to ask is which keeps on my mind every day is the skills which you talk about in data science. I have been using skills. I have been using Python, R, SQL, database stuff, stat stuff. So, which skills do you think are the most important to get a job? Because I will be looking for my job in the upcoming months. So, is there some skill set which you recommend?
I think SQL needs to be really studied. I think that you should work through interview questions for SQL, and we have a whole chapter on SQL interviews. But practice makes perfect, and they can be deceptively hard. Some people are I know SQL, I know how to select some stuff and join tables. But then you come across a tricky SQL interview question. And also, a lot of companies do take-home projects where they give you a data set and ask you to analyze it. And again, sometimes it's better to just write SQL queries to do some summary statistics, right? And then put up that code on GitHub or use Google BigQuery and then show them, hey, I know how to use SQL, right? I think that's a very employable skill. Because in school, we talk about deep learning, neural networks, machine learning, some crazy advanced stuff. And then in the real world, it's like, hey, write me a SQL query to find how many people ordered this product in the last 90 days, and you have 2 minutes to do this. And then they're like, I can tell you everything about deep learning and computer vision, and I don't know how to write some basic summary stats in SQL. SQL is one big one. I think putting out projects that are more end-to-end, these days, especially ML ops and being able to deploy your work has been really important, and being able to manage, do a little bit more heavy software engineering work has been more in demand and can separate you out, especially if you come from a CS background or you have some data engineering past experience. That's really employable, because there's actually a lot of people coming into data science from, let's say, social sciences like econ or psychology or something, where they're good at analyzing data because they've done a lot of experimentation or more like research.
Yeah.
But they're not good at putting stuff into deployment because they don't have that coding background or software engineering background. So in that sense, in the market, if you really want to show off, getting those more SWE skills, software engineering skills, makes a big difference, right? So a stat person might build a really good visual or do some really good hypothesis testing, but be at a complete loss on how do I buy a domain from Namecheap and then post this simple thing. And it's not rocket science. It's just that, you know, CS people buy domain names every week and post stuff, but stat majors might be not sure about GitHub, right? There, you know, there's enough statistics people who are amazing at stats, but just don't know source control because that's more software engineering. So being able to show that you know GitHub, you know source control, you know how to put something into production, makes a big difference.
Got it. And like from you, any last tips for data science professionals, internships, or students going into the data science field without actually knowing what it is, because it's a hot field, everybody's coming into it, and like then they realize that it's not for them?
I think the biggest thing is, yes, it might not be for you, but this is such a disciplinary field. Like there's so many different things in this field that if you think it's sort of for you, I really ask you to explore the different sub niches, right? Because some people really are really happy making really cool dashboards. They don't want to go with machine learning theory or this or that. They want to be really good in Tableau or Power BI. And there are people who make 180 to 200K as really good Tableau or Power BI developers who don't know machine learning, who don't, you know, do complicated data engineering. And then same way, there's people who make a lot of money as data engineers, and they almost don't need stats, or they learned it at one point and they forgot it, and they're just really good with Airflow, with Python, with DBT, with Spark, and they don't know any math, any theory, they don't remember any linear algebra, none of that matters, and they can do really well. So I think that's another thing. Like there's some people who do data and hate coding, some people who do data and hate the stat and theory part. There's some people who love working with stakeholders, would love product data science because they like to shape the product roadmap with PMs and business stakeholders. And there's other people who are like, dude, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to build these machine learning pipelines and just code and just commit code on GitHub. I don't want to make presentations, right? Like data engineers don't have to do that many presentations compared to a product data scientist, which is all about winning the hearts and minds of your teammates and showing them, hey man, I analyze this data. This is what we should be building. Here's why. You know, that's like a very different kind of personality and skill set than sitting behind a laptop and just coding all day. And both are good, successful paths to follow.
So like figure out what your calling is and then chase it. That's it.
Right. And I think the biggest thing is people then ask me, well, then Nick, well, how do I figure out my calling? Just do shit, right? You're not going to figure out your calling playing Call of Duty and, you know, going out drinking. You're going to figure it out by building projects end to end, by doing internships, by doing research with professors. And again, I say research with professors, internships, and then everyone goes back to square one. Oh, Nick, I can't get any internships. No one will return my call. But the biggest way to figure out what you like is to do stuff on your own. And we work in data where so little is gatekeeped. There's so many free data sets. Kaggle is free. Data sets are free. GitHub is free. APIs are free. Right? So the biggest way to figure out, do I like data engineering, is go do a data engineering free certification and see if you hate it or you love it. You want to see if building dashboards is fun? Tableau Public is free. Go make a dashboard. The data sets to make these visualizations are free. Go download Photoshop and then make some even more really cool infographic if you love design, you love art, and you want to go one step further. And there's Reddit, R Data is Beautiful, that has some of the best infographics where it's more like works of art that you'd see printed in a magazine, and less so things that are in a business presentation. Go make those, right? Because some people love doing that, and that's how they get a lot of attention. I don't know what your calling is, but sure as hell you're not going to find it watching Netflix playing video. You're going to find it by actually trying to do these things and putting out your work and putting it out on Reddit and LinkedIn and GitHub, and getting attention to it and seeing what gives you energy and what doesn't.
Got it. So also, I just wanted to talk about on my YouTube channel about your book, which has been published, and people who I could show you here, and people who have not bought it, I'll be putting the link in the description below. You can go check it out. It's a bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah,
in statistics, I was looking at
that. It's a bestseller in like a few different categories. Yeah.
So people who are interested in data science, going into it or like actually studying it, this is a really cool book. I usually don't recommend stuff, but this is like the 200 questions which Nick has talked about in this. I think those are really helpful. Also, it's cold emailing, portfolio, resume. He has covered all of that. So I would highly